Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, in this lesson, we're going to be delving into the first property of an ism, which is definiteness. So, before delving in, let's just take a quick look at what the four properties of an ism are. The first, which we'll be covering today, is definiteness. The second is gender, so it's either an ism will be masculine or feminine. The third is number, so an ism will either be singular, as in referring to one thing. It will be dual, referring to two, or plural, referring to three or more. And the fourth is status, which is essentially the purpose of an ism in its context based on its ending. And we're going to study this in great detail in the coming lessons. So let's begin with definiteness. Before we could really delve into what definiteness is, it's important to understand a simple concept of heavy and light endings. So, each ism can either be light or heavy in regards to its ending. By light, we mean simply that it has a single diacritical mark or harakat. So, bu, ba, or bi, with the dhamma, fatha, or kasra. By heavy, we mean that it has a double diacritical mark on the end. So that's a heavy ending. In Arabic, this is known as tanween. So that could be bun, ben, or bin. So let's take a look at an example of a heavy ending. So mu'minun has a heavy ending because it has the double dhamma on the end. That makes it a heavy ending. Al-mu'minu has a light ending because it has a single diacritical mark on the end with a single dhamma. So let's take a look at the types of definiteness. Definiteness is essentially the property which looks at whether or not an ism is non-specific or specific. And what we mean by that can actually be summed up pretty easily in this example. So let's say I ask you to go upstairs and grab me an apple. If I say a apple, I'm not referring to a specific apple. Rather, any apple works, right? So in English, we make something, or we make a noun, non-specific by putting a before it. It keeps things general. Now, if I wanted to make it specific, I would simply say, go upstairs and get me the apple. By putting the article the before a noun in English, I specify to something now that is known. If I'm asking you to go upstairs and get me the apple, we both know which apple I'm referring to. It's not simply any apple, it's a specific apple. So definiteness is the property that deals with an ism either being non-specific or specific. So what does this look like in Arabic? So let's take a look at non-specific first. So to pull something off as being non-specific, it has to have a heavy ending, such as kitabun. So kitabun means a book, and I know it's non-specific, so I'm going to put a in the translation because of the heavy ending that's present there on the end of the ism. Muslimun, I know it once again that it's non-specific because of the heavy ending there, so it's a Muslim. And finally, rajulun is a man. I know that it's non-specific because of the heavy ending that is present on it. And it's important to note that by default, all isms are non-specific. They are made specific by simply adding an alif lam and making the ending light. Remember that the heavy ending is always a representation of an ism being non-specific. So if you put that alif lam on it, automatically the ending is going to become light. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So al-kitabu, right? So the al was added. Initially it was kitabun with a heavy ending. Then the alif lam was added and the ending became light. So those two things occurred. And now it's the book. Originally, the word was muslimun, a Muslim. Then we added alif lam, and that forced the ending to become light. So it became al-muslimu, the Muslim. Then we have ar-rajulu, which was originally rajulun with a heavy ending, meaning a man. Then we added alif lam, and that forced the ending to become light, so it became ar-rajulu, which means the man. Now it is specific. So there's two really important points to keep in mind when dealing with non-specific and specific, or definiteness in general. The first is you can't have a paradox. Something cannot have alif lam, which represents it being specific, and also a double ending on the end, or a heavy ending, which represents it being non-specific. This case here is equivalent to saying the a man, which makes no sense whatsoever in English, and it wouldn't make any sense in Arabic either. So you cannot have alif lam and a heavy ending at the same time. When alif lam is put on, automatically it's going to make that ending light. So you can't have this. If you were to have this, it would be a paradox and it would make no sense. The final point is that sometimes, especially when you're dealing with an alif maksura, the ending is not going to show its diacritical mark. So although the ending on here is light, it's not showing it. So in these cases where you can't tell what the ending is, the big giveaway is whether or not it has alif lam. So if it has alif lam, then know that it is specific. If it does not have alif lam, know that it is non-specific. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.